to our Storm, who had struggled. They were on a 10-game losing streak this past week, but they were able to snap that. They're on a 2-game winning streak right now, which is really nice. We'll get to the not-so-great part. July 25th at the Liberty, the Storm battle all game long against the Liberty team that they have played really well this season, but they're unable to close the gap as they have been in most of their losses this season and the losses that they've played to Liberty. An 82-86 loss. Our player of the game, guard Jewell Loyd, 32 points, 4 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 1 block for the Gold Mamba in this loss, unfortunately. So at this current point in time, the Storm losing streak had gotten to 10. It's the longest losing streak in franchise history. Like, well, shoot, what are we going to do here? Because as I mentioned last week, the Storm would plug one hole and then another one would spring open. And it's like, well, what are we going to do? You have to put together a complete effort. It is possible with this team. They are a ragtag group of players, whether it's veterans from around the league or younger players. Learning had been tough for them to apply to these games, and they were able to do that. Though immediately after to snap the 10-game losing streak, they stop it at 10. They beat the Chicago Sky on the road just a week after they had lost to them at home in ugly fashion. Seattle wins that one on July 28th, 82-74. Our player of the game, center Ezi Magbegor, the Australian, puts up a double-double, 12 points, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Ezi all over the stat sheet there in a big way. Honorable mention, Gabby Williams. We'll get to Gabby here in a minute. So Seattle wins the second game of their road trip. They close it out successfully, so a happy plane ride home. They beat the Indiana Fever on July 30th, 85-62. Our player of the game, guard Jewell Loyd. Once again, the Gold Mamba shows out 26 points, 4 rebounds, 8 assists, which is a season high for Jewell, 2 steals as well. So I mentioned we'd get to Gabby. We do here. Our player of the week, I went with Gabby. Because these last 2 games here, you notice it wasn't, her stats for the last 3, because that game against the Liberty, tough shooting game. Gabby, in her past 2 games, in that Sky win, a 17-point, 6 rebound, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 block performance. And then in that win over the Fever, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 steals. 3 steals big there. Obviously, we know Gabby for her defense, but as I've talked about before, whether it's this past season when she joined the Storm initially as they tried to give Sue Bird a 5th title to end her career on, or this year, when it was announced that she finally signed after there was all that back and forth. Gabby finding her offense is key to her really blossoming as a star player. We know how good defensively she is. She distributes the ball well. But when she finds her shot, it makes her really dangerous. It makes her a really key part of this Storm team. So, there's not too much to go into in those Storm wins. They played complete games. They're getting good performances off the bench. Seattle's bench is second in the WNBA in terms of their points scored. The interesting note is that they've moved Sammy Whitcomb into the starting point guard position for these 3 games. Now, this was talked about in the offseason when the team brought Sammy back to the franchise after she spent some time with the Liberty there. Sammy's not the greatest passer in the world per se, but her scoring ability, her 3 points, obviously big, kind of opens things up for this offense more because it brings another threat on the floor for the Storm. Dulcie Fenka-Mengiadu is a great rebounder, great inside, but her shot, she's limited to the paint, really. And we look across the starting 5. We go from Dulcie, we already talked about her. Ezi can shoot the 3 ball. She's your second scorer. We know that. Okay, so there's 2 scorers with Jewell Loyd. Gabby Williams, until she really hits her shots, teams aren't going to respect it enough. She hit her shots in the last 2 games, but we'll imagine as if though she's not. So there's 2 scorers still. Adding Sammy on the floor really opens up another option, not only giving Jewell more room, but also, the danger in what Sammy brings as well. So it's great to see that. Jordan Horson missed that game against the Liberty with a shoulder. Due to personal reasons, my apologies. But she was back. She had a great game against the Fever there off the bench. I believe she had 17 points there. So you're seeing a more complete game. And in that Chicago game last week, at home against the Sky, the Storm were out-rebounded massively. This time against the Sky, it was the Storm who out-rebounded their opponent massively. So you'll see it throughout the course of this season. I would hope to not see another losing streak like this, but we're going to see ebbs and flows. We're going to see learning moments growing pains, all of that. There was a long growing pain. It was painful. But this is all building towards next season and future success so that the Storm can learn from this. The young Storm players can learn from this, get this information, and know how to apply it to different situations going forward. That's what we've talked about leading into the season and as the season's progressed. So didn't like seeing the losing streak get that long, but good to see that they kind of put it together there and sort of the performances that they put together in the wins over the Sky and over the Fever there. So the injury report, we'll get to it. Against New York, as I mentioned, Jordan Horston was out due to personal reasons, but there was nothing else. And then in the wins over Chicago and Indiana on the 28th and 30th, both of those were clean injury reports. So Seattle fully healthy. Lately, they are a 6-win, 19-loss team. They're 12th in, their next game is Wednesday, August 2nd versus the Dallas Wings. That's a 7:30 p.m. tip-off. That game you can watch on the CBS Sports Network if you're not joining us down at Climate Pledge Arena. And then the second game of this week, after coming back for one game, the Storm head back out on the road August 5th at the Phoenix Mercury. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off time down in Phoenix. That game will be on Prime Video if you're in the state of Washington, and NBA TV otherwise. So